Hi and welcome to Real Reviews, where I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the Pigeon Tunnel, an Apple original documentary film which was premiered at the London Film Festival and concerns the author John le Carre, who passed away recently. It's written and directed by Errol Morris, and it is in the same narrative style as your Michael J. Fox still film, which was very recent, which is a combination of talking heads and fictional recreations. So let's get into it. So not only is this interesting from a fan-based point of view, anybody who'd read Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, A Perfect Spy, knows about The Spy Who Came In For The Cold, which was the adaptation starring Richard Burton, or the Gary Oldman adaptation of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, or going further back, the Alec Guinness TV series on the BBC. John le Carre is synonymous with spy fiction. He was raised in, shall we say, a very unique family. His father was essentially quite an elusive character, and this is how it comes across in the documentary. A lot of the way that le Carre looks at the world and the characters that he puts into his books, it really comes through in those formative years, and as the writer-director Errol Morris is sort of having a deep dive into the back history of this ultimately quite a mysterious guy. What AppleTV have done, and what Apple have done, is they seem to have left the documentarian alone. And so what you get is a lot of, as I said, fictional recreations of fleeting memories that le Carre is describing. So you get a lot of his voiceover, and there's a great deal of authority which comes through with that. You've also got this, you have these talking heads, but it's sort of done in an oak panelled sort of library, I assume his home at the time. And it sort of adds to the authenticity. It's quite odd. He is a very believable guy, but then the more you get into this, the idea of spies and MI5, MI6, and his sort of low-level involvement with that service over the 50s, 60s and 70s, and before he became a novelist, that is where the meat and potatoes of this really comes to life. And for that reason, you know, I think it's a pretty good thing. The documentary is very insightful, and as I said, I think best thing to do now is to maybe dive into the finer details. Let's do that. There's a degree of sort of romanticism which comes through in this particular piece. It speaks of a bygone era. It speaks of a time before social media, before this World Wide Web, before this sort of oversaturation of information where everybody needs to live online, and you have all of this ready information, personal, professional, credit card details, preferences, etc., all there for the picking and for the resale. So this is before, this is when things were dealt, it was pen and it was paper, and there was subterfuge and there was real espionage, you know, and the idea of not knowing who somebody was a real, it was a tangible fact. That was the stock and trade. That was the bread and butter of what it was to be a spy at that time. Obviously, with the advent of technologies, etc., that has leveled up, and that's become some completely different animal. But I think it is best, at least in TV terms, it was best illustrated through a thing called The Undeclared War, which was on Channel 4, I think about 18 months ago, with Simon Pegg and Mark Rylance, where that is sort of geared up. But we are talking about proper old school sort of, you know, cloak and dagger stuff, where people had pseudonyms and people had, and you literally lived separate lives. So that is where another element of this documentary, which really gives it depth and really gives it character and really draws the audience in. So, as I said, in terms of the sort of overall idea of what le Carre was and who he is and who he and you know, and everything about his life really does bring on. It has a new dimension to it. Brings a whole new sort of approach to the author as a whole. So right. Let's move on and do that rating. Right, so we're looking at a 4 out of 5 on the big old 5 scale for this particular documentary, this particular film. As I said, I've gone over the sort of overlaying elements which really bring this film together and make it an excellent piece of documentary filmmaking from Errol Morris there. And as I said, it might not necessarily make you want to rush out and buy a le Carre novel, but at least when you get the opportunity to watch these films on a Sunday afternoon, or if you own them on physical media, which is always the best way to own things, to be fair, forget about streaming, honestly, because they get rid of stuff, then you'll have a little bit more insight, a little bit more sort of Anaraki detail that you might not have. And you know, information is key. So on that note, I'm going to jump right into the trailer. So let's do that. And so it is that you've reached the end of the video review for the Pigeon Tunnel, which is currently doing the rounds on Apple TV and gives you everything you could possibly need to know about John le Carre, the author and spy master. So if you've liked the video, give me a click, give me a thumb, that would be great. Otherwise, drop something in the comments, let me know, is it good, is it bad, is there stuff you want me to change, is there something I should be including? And finally, if you want to subscribe, then every Tuesday and every Saturday when I throw another one of these out into the ether, you'll get a little notification and you can watch or listen to as much or as little as you want and then go about your day. And in the meantime, check out the rest of the channel. Cheers, bye.